So we just made our video about the new emergent Japanese archetype in cEDH Semi-Blue, and so I thought it would be fun to make a casual version of that deck.
Oh, do you want to say that again?
Casual version of that deck.
Thank you.
Basically, the only restriction I gave myself is just make something of that nature with no game changers.
So you got rid of a solid 2 cards?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Distraction makers.
I changed the commander too. Okay, it's not. I feel like if you show up to the table with Ragnarok Thrasios, that people are going to ask questions. So instead, the commander is Eshki, and the deck is called Big Butter Eshki because that's what we're doing. We're making butter.
Eshki, Temur's Roar. You pay a Temur. Whenever you cast a creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Eshki. If that spell's power is 4 or greater, draw a card. If that spell's power is 6 or greater, Eshki deals damage equal to Eshki's power to each opponent. 2/2 power and toughness.
She's a 2/2. Yep, so she fits the theme pretty well, which is play big creatures, draw cards, win the game.
Now, are you casting a lot of these creatures? Hard casting them?
Sometimes.
Your voice cracked a little bit.
Sometimes.
So are you lying?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, a lot of the way that the deck functions, we'll get into that. But yeah, initially you're going to be playing some kind of creature, especially leading up to the bigger spells and things. And other times you're just going to be plopping them into play.
So like you said at the beginning, this is sort of inspired by the recent Semi-Blue cEDH deck coming out of Japan. And so generally, to summarize that, very non-interactive, very classic EDH battlecruiser style. You're playing big things, blowing up the table with all your big stuff, and that's it. But avoiding most levels of interaction with other players.
Right. It generally operates off of the principle that we kind of advocate for here, which is that generally speaking, interaction is pretty bad in Commander because if you spend a mana to interact with one of your opponents, you're down mana and a card. The opponent you interacted with is down a card, and your other 2 opponents didn't do anything. So effectively, you are helping the other 2 players when you are the one interacting. And so to avoid this dynamic, there's a couple different sides of the coin you can be on. One is that you can be sort of on the vulture side of things, which means I'm just going to bystand and let my opponents fight each other until I can swoop in and win. Or you can be on the big butter side of things or semi-blue side of things and basically say, I'm not going to bother interacting with anybody. I'm just going to win the game as quickly as possible. And that's what this deck is designed to do.
We'll go through some various key pieces of the deck.
Yeah, we separated the deck into sort of some different categories. So we're going to go through them and discuss the card choices, why they're there, what they do, and if you wanted to play this deck at your table, you'd be able to hopefully do that by the end of the video.
So first of all, we have the Big Butter category.
Big Butter, yeah.
Avendo Waking Haven. It is it's a cheaper Shasta-Cola of Gaia's Cradle.
Do people know what Shasta-Cola is? Is that a Pacific Northwest thing? I don't know. Or a West Coast thing? Let us know, East Coast people. Do you have Shasta-Cola?
Or do you have something else?
What about RC? They probably have RC Cola.
We have RC Cola.
I know, but that's like the budget cola, right?
RC?
Yeah, right? So these are Big Butter at home.
Right.
This is Gaia's Cradle at home is what this
Avendo comes into play tapped. You can tap it for 1 green mana, but it has Station because it's from Edge of Eternities. So Station, obviously, you can tap another creature you control, put charge counters equal to its power on this planet, and Station only as a sorcery. So if you station up to 12 total counters on it, you pay 1 green, tap it, and add 1 green for each creature you control. As if the 1 green was going to make a huge difference.
Pay 1 green to get that green back.
I really don't know why they had the 1 green.
I don't know. I guess it's just to make sure you have 2 lands in play. Whatever. But effectively, this is Gaia's Cradle at home. Like I said, I was building this deck with no game changers in it, so Gaia's Cradle is not an option for this deck, where the cEDH semi-blue version of this would definitely be playing Gaia's Cradle.
Next, we have Nykthos trying to Nyx. Tap it to add 1 colorless to your mana pool, but if you pay 2 and tap it, you choose a color, and add to your mana pool an amount of mana of that color equal to your devotion to that color. You get a lot of mana.
It's just making a lot of butter.
And we'll see there's a lot of green. You play Temur, but the majority skews green, so you're not going to be like at a lack of devotion for one particular color. And then a lesser known one, I think, Growing Rights of Itlimok. It's a legendary enchantment, costs 2 and a green. When Growing Rites of Itlamok enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. But at the beginning of your end step, if you control 4 or more creatures, transform Growing Rites of Itlamok into Gaia's
Cradle. Yeah. So basically, I just have multiple ways to effectively play Gaia's Cradle, depending upon the situation. I might tutor some of these up with Sylvan Scrying or a different land tutor expedition map, I think is the other one. And then, just make sure that I can make lots of mana and then ways to untap these lands to tap them again for even more mana. So similar to how semi-blue functions.
So you have 3 not quite Gaia's Cradles.
Yep.
Yes.
It's probably too many. I think at a certain point I could probably choose which one of these 3 is probably just the best way to go, but I haven't quite decided yet. So it's either Nykthos or it's Evendu probably are the best of them. Evendu,
Evendo, even though it's not Gaia's Cradle.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, next we're moving on to card advantage. Notable cards here are probably Thrasios. You've seen Thrasios before. You've heard of Thrasios before. I don't know.
Here he is.
Here he is again.
Yeah, he's just good.
Non-game changer Thrasios.
Yeah, he's in the 99 here, so we don't get the advantage from him being in the command zone and being able to play him consistently every game. So. It's sort of a bracket 3, bracket 4 kind of game. I think you're fine with having Thrasios in the 99.
All right, so 2 other cards lesser known to Thrasios. We have Generous Patron, 2 and a green. When Generous Patron enters the battlefield, support 2. What that means, you put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 other target creatures. And then whenever you put 1 or more counters on a creature you don't control, you draw a card.
Do you play this in Bumbleflower?
I do play this in Bumbleflower. It's very good in Bumbleflower, and it's funny because I had cut it from casual Bumbleflower. And then when I was working on like a cracked out version for cEDH of it, I brought it back in and was like, yeah, I think this card's good. Like, I think it's really good with Bumbleflower because you get to put more counters on stuff. So you get even more card draw. And then I started seeing more people in cEDH talking about Generous Patron. So I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah, I think this card is particularly good and a little bit slept on at this point. So,
I mean, it's a 2 and a green that you draw 2. And then if you have anything that puts counters on.
Or anything that cares about creatures or, whatever. There's a lot of different pieces of glue, I think, for this card.
And then we have Regal Force. It's 4 and 3 green. It's a 5/5 that says, when Regal Force enters the battlefield, draw a card for each green creature you control.
So Regal Force and Tishana are really like the really big draw a lot of cards creatures that when they come into play, you're drawing a bunch of cards. It also lines up well with, the strategy of the deck is just to put a bunch of like snowballing value, right? So I'm putting a whole bunch of stuff into a bunch of creatures into play. I'm drawing a bunch of cards, and then I'm playing more creatures off those cards. And you tend to kind of snowball into multiple draw engines as you're drawing cards and playing out more cards with the mana that you have. So.
Moving on, we have clones. We talked a lot about clones on the channel before. I think big fans of clones.
I think clones are also kind of slept on. We're starting to see them move into cEDH play quite a bit more. Really, it's like if you have any kind of particularly good creature, or sometimes you're even cloning enchantments and things that you want to have multiple copies of, but multiple redundant copies haven't been printed. You just play a bunch of clones, and suddenly your deck is full of whatever your best cards are.
Yeah, and I think what's especially interesting is when I was making my clones deck, seeing how many good cheap clones there are, because almost all clones are usually 4 mana, but we're getting some that are starting to trickle
like 2
a
and
little
3
bit
and,
lower. Yeah,
like flesh duplicate.
Right, Flesh Duplicate. Phantasmal Image has been around for a long time, but I think that one's really, really great. Especially in higher powered things like cEDH, where there's not a lot of like targeted removal after the fact, right? It's almost always on the stack removal, and Phantasmal Image will go away if it's targeted afterwards. Basically.
Also, you probably don't even care if it goes away because you're cloning something that has like a comes into play effect, so you just get an additional use out of it. We used to see this with Dockside Extortionist a lot, where people play Phantasmal Image just to copy Dockside, but Phantasmal Image is still a fantastic card.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry.
Another one I want to point out here is Starfield Vocalist. It's a newer card. I've been happy seeing a lot more Edge of Eternity's cards be considered for some of these decks, because I feel like that set just came and went. But I've been noticing little trickles of it here and there in some higher powered decks, which is kind of cool to see. So Starfield Vocalist is 3 and a blue. If a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time, which 3 and a blue for that is kind of whatever, but it has warp for 1 and a blue. So you're able to sort of warp it in for much cheaper, and then potentially have triggers go off.
Notably not a clone, but it is effectively doing what the clones in this deck are trying to do, which is just give you additional triggers of whatever the comes into play effect is of the thing that you're cloning. So
next we have Tutors.
Yeah, and usually I think, in a lot of our decks, we kind of tend to advocate for not playing very many Tutors. And this deck doesn't play a ton, but because of the big butter lands being so important, it is definitely playing some things to search up those big butter lands, namely Sylvan Scrying and Expedition Map.
One of note is Sowing Myco Spawn. It's 3 and a green. It has Devoid. I don't think that matters. It has Kicker. Also doesn't really matter. And but really, when you cast this spell, search your library for a land card and put it onto the battlefield. And those effects, just in general, are very, very strong.
Yeah, and this card has been played in all the way down to competitive Legacy decks, so it's a particularly good card.
Next, we have Ramp, and you play notably 16 pieces of Ramp in this.
Weird.
What does that mean? Wait,
how many lands are there?
You have 28 lands. Well, you have a little
plus the big butter lands. Okay. There should be 32 lands, 16. Mana ramps.
I think I have 31 lands.
It should be 32, I hope.
Oh.
Or I'm a liar.
32 plus, it's 5, 33.
All right, well, I guess I need to drop a land. It should be 32-16. This is the combination that we end up advocating for a lot, which gives you 48 mana sources total, 32 of which are lands, 16 of which are some kind of mana acceleration. Some kind of ramp. And that works out good for us. I don't know. I've heard a lot of other people complain about this or tell us that we're totally wrong and have no idea what we're talking about. But, I don't know. Seems fine.
So, yes, 16 pieces of ramp. Most notably, non-game changer Candelabra of Tawnos.
Yeah, so I thought about cutting this card. The deck doesn't technically need it, but I also think it's funny to include it because it's not a game changer. Because it's, non-game changer Candelabra of Tawnos. So, it's busted. This card's really good, especially with lands that tap for more mana than they should.
Candelabra of Tawnos costs 1. It's an artifact, and you pay X, tap it, and untap X target lands. I think one thing when we were looking at semi-blue that I thought was interesting is seeing the card Tinderwall, because I had never seen the card Tinderwall before, and now I really want to play it. It's a good card. Yeah, it's a very good card. It's 1 green, pays 0. That always works out. Right, Vivi? Sacrifice Tinderwall to add 2 red mana to your mana pool and play this ability as an interrupt, as if that matters anymore. But
just good. Yep. It's basically a ritual spell, right? It's something that just gives you extra mana for when you need it.
Also, it's a 0/3.
Yeah.
So it's got a good butt on it. Yeah. I like that it's not like a spirit guide that gets exiled, so you can also play something with the graveyard if you happen to have any sort of graveyard recursion.
Also a creature in play for things like Gaia's Cradle or Even Doe.
Yep. Even Doe.
Even Doe. What is that card called, Even Doe?
Next, we got Untappers.
Yeah, so a big part of the sort of synergies of the deck is tapping lands for lots of mana and then untapping them to tap them again for even more mana to cast really big spells. So untappers in this deck are particularly good in combination with those lands, the big butter lands.
Right. This is stuff that will almost always sort of enable you getting a lot of your mana and enable combo pieces in certain instances.
Yeah, so we can kind of put these in 2 categories. There's a certain number of spells here that when you cast them, you get to untap a specific number of lands. These are all pretty busted. They've been in the game for a long time, and people, their bustedness is pretty well known. I'm kind of surprised it took this long for them to end up in cEDH, but here we are. And then there's a few others that are just pretty decent at just untapping generally.
The one that I really like personally is Minamo, School at Water's Edge. That's the one that when we were reading through Semi-Blue that seemed really interesting. It's specifically untapping target legendary permanent, so that's a little bit more of like a combo piece that you might use. But otherwise, finding something like Peregrine Drake is like the classic one of when it enters the battlefield, you untap up to 5 lands. So it costs 5 mana. So you essentially, as long as you have 5 lands for the 5 mana, can play it for free. And there's almost always some sort of another piece that allows you to sort of bounce it back or make more of them so that you can just keep untapping your land and have infinite mana.
Yeah, and we mentioned this in the semi-blue video, but the combo with Kiki-Jiki, Manamo, and Cloud of Fairies gives you infinite Cloud of Fairies because you can use the Cloud of Fairies to untap Manamo, to then untap Kiki-Jiki, to tap Kiki-Jiki again. And it's this, it's a combo line that fits in with all of the other stuff that the deck is trying to do. And there's a very, very small opportunity cost to playing that infinite combo versus something like Zealous Conscripts or Deceiver Exarch, which this deck also plays, but some of the semi-blue decks don't. Some of them will play Zealous Conscripts, some of them not. But I will say that those other cards also untap things, so they do fit in line. Maybe it is just that, Cloud of Fairies untaps 2 things, which is pretty good. So.
Speaking of Kiki-Jiki and Zealous Conscripts, we're going to move on to combo pieces.
Combo. So, look, if you're playing by the bracket system, this deck does have infinite combos, so keep that in mind. Kiki-Jiki combos in the deck, which is basically Kiki-Jiki with any number of things that untap it, and so you can clone the thing and untap Kiki-Jiki again. Zealous Conscripts, Deceiver Exarch being some of the classics, which basically makes it so you can make infinite copies of whatever that untapper is, and you can attack and kill all of your opponents with infinite creatures. There's a couple other combos going on in the deck. Eternal Witness and Snap. Yeah, Eternal Witness and Snap can give you infinite mana, as long as you're using that with some kind of big butter land, untapping it, playing it again, snapping Eternal Witness back to your hand, untapping your lands, playing Eternal Witness again, getting Snap back, blah, 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 blah. You still need some kind of infinite mana outlet at that point, but it does give you infinite mana. And then the other one would be Deadeye Navigator in combination with infinite mana, and then also something like Atali or whatever has a good enter the battlefield effect that you want to copy infinite times.
And then we're getting into, I guess, what we've called free chunkies. Just lots of various cards that allow you to play big, giant, chunky creatures for free.
For free, yeah.
Yes. So notably, we've got a Sneak Attack, Mind's Desire, which I had not actually seen Mind's Desire before.
That's crazy. That card's very popular.
Yeah. Mind's Desire, for those of you like me that don't know, is 4 and 2 blue, is sorcery. Shuffle your library, then exile the top card of your library. Until end of turn, you may play that card without paying its mana cost, which isn't that crazy, except it has Storm.
Storm! Yep. So you can also basically play your entire deck if you're looping something where you're casting spells infinitely, like I was talking about with Eternal Witness and Snap. You loop those infinitely, and you can just play Mind's Desire and play everything in your deck and win the game.
Yeah, so we have Last March of the Ants. This was one we also talked about with Semi-Blue. It's 6, 2 green. This spell can't be countered. And draw cards equal to the greatest toughness among creatures you control, then put any number of creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield.
Yeah, so this, I think, is really one of the flagship, spells for Semi-Blue, in that you're attempting to ramp to this spell that's not, like, your opponents can't interact with it, and then you're putting in some kind of a creature combo directly into play, which also is pretty difficult to interact with. So, Last March of the Ants is particularly good, especially when combined with Eternal Witness. So if you have Eternal Witness in your hand, you can play Last March of the Ants, drawing a bunch of cards, putting Eternal Witness into play, getting back Last March of the Ants. Theoretically, some of the stuff that you put into play untaps your lands, and then you play, you do it again. So, free chunkies, pretty good.
And then, what chunkies do you play?
The chunkies, the reason we're here.
You play, I guess, technically 5 chunkies. Yep. Atali being the classic one.
Atali is the classic chunky. Yep.
Atali Primal Conqueror is 5, 2 red. It's it has Trample. When Atali Primal Conqueror enters the battlefield, each player exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. You may cast any number of spells from among the non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana costs. And it's a 7/7.
Yeah, so it basically just lets you play your opponent's decks. If you can, in combination with Deadeye Navigator in this and Infinite Mana, you can play all of your opponent's decks and just win the game. So you're going to win with whatever they're doing. So
lesser known ones, Trumpeting Carnosaur.
Yeah, that one's just pretty good for the Discover 5. when it comes into play, notably, it discovers 5, which is different than how Cascades work. So once it's in play, and you can clone it and get that discover 5 again and again to effectively cascade into something that costs 5 or less and play it.
Otherwise, you have stuff like Apex Devastator and Maelstrom Wanderer, and those two are Cascade cards.
Yeah, and again,
multi-cascades.
Yeah, so again, this is the semi-blue concept of when I play a very expensive spell, even if my opponents are able to interact with that one spell, I'm getting additional spells off of that that will make it harder for my opponents to deal with and interact with. So.
And then last one is Gulta, Stampede Tyrant.
Yeah, this card's very good. I don't know why this card exists, but once it's in play, it comes into play effect is that you just get to put every other creature in your hand into play for some reason. It's nuts. Doesn't really. It's a little bit of a non-bow with the Cascade cards because you don't cast them, you just put them directly in play, and if you don't cast them, you don't get to Cascade. So
yeah, but if you end up putting a 10/10 into play, that's not going to win you a game of cEDH, I suppose, but it probably would at a casual table.
Yeah, well, even Maelstrom Wanderer too, he gives all your creatures haste, so plopping one of them into play and attacking for the win is pretty good. So. All right, well, there's Big Butter Eshki in a nutshell. Deck's fun. It tends to be able to present win attempts around turn 5, sometimes 4, but yeah. If it sounds cool to you and you don't like playing interaction and you like playing big chunkies, this might be the deck for you.
If you enjoyed listening to us talk about Big Butter Eshki, feel free to give us a like and a subscribe, maybe a comment down below.
Also, if you want to join our Discord, the link is in the description. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.